In one instant, you're on vacation, and afterward, you're fighting for your life in the middle of the ocean. Serena Williams looked death in the eye, while Naomi Osaka nearly became a shark's food. While the struggles on the court are tough, some players have encountered much more difficult obstacles off the game that they almost faced death. Welcome to Tennis FLIX, a channel dedicated to the latest and greatest in the tennis world. You will be captivated by today's amazing video, tennis players who nearly lost their life and died. Let's get started. Serena Williams. Serena Williams announced on Snapchat in April 2017 that she was 20 weeks pregnant. As joyful as it had been, it proved to be a huge surprise because Serena had previously defeated her sister Venus in the Australian Open finals in January of that year. So, after you carry out the mathematics, you're going to see that she was 8 weeks pregnant at the time she won the event. Serena is an absolutely strong woman. However, her strength had been tested in the most terrifying way possible, in the labor room. Serena herself claimed that she almost died after giving birth to her daughter. In relation to the tennis star, everything began with a pulmonary embolism. Just in case you're wondering, pulmonary embolism is a disorder in which a blood clot clogs the lungs. As if there hadn't been enough, she coughed with such force that her C-section stitches nearly popped open. So the woman had to get the operation done all over again. It was so disastrous that she went nearly 6 weeks without leaving her bed. Fortunately, Serena is a fighter both on and off the court, so she succeeded in getting over that time. Stephanos Tsitsipas. Back in 2015, after one of his matches at a third-tier futures event in Crete, Tsitsipas wanted to let off a little steam, so the Greek player chose to swim off the shore of Crete with a pal. However, little did he understand that his cool-off exercise would force him to go swimming to his life. Stephanos and his friend underestimated the power of the currents and were both pulled out to sea. And once they panicked as well as rushed to fight their journey to the shore, things got even worse. Stephanos eventually accepted the fact that everything had ended for him. Fortunately, Stephanos' father, Apostolos, jumped into the waters and guided them back to safety. Oh no, a world-class talent is powerless at sea. Death was not material with the peace, and decided to return his abilities to the world. This encounter changed Tsitsipas's view on life, and the French Open runner-up believes it has made him braver. Anyway, Stephanos isn't the sole tennis player who has a bad memory at sea. Naomi went through something similar in 2019, but this time, she basically became a shark meal. Naomi Osaka. Death is said to have 1,000 faces, and he revealed one of them to the legend during her vacation. Naomi Osaka and her sister chose to take a well-deserved holiday to the Turks and Caicos Islands following the 2019 season. For some manner, their vacation was a thrill. However, everything went badly when Naomi's sister convinced her to attempt paddleboarding. Soon after they touched the water, they were struck by an unexpected current that emerged from nowhere. This was the point at which the former tennis champion lost her control. They were moving far away from the beach. To make matters worse, she was incapable of swimming. As if that weren't enough, she slipped into the sea, panicking even more since she was afraid of being shark meal. Fortunately, Naomi was able to regain her position on the board. Naomi became even more afraid when her sister noticed a shark from a distance. Thankfully, they made it back to shore at the right time. Right now, I know the sea sounds scary. What if I mentioned to you that some players have a death terror on the court? If you believe the sea was a dangerous place to be, after facing a worthy opponent, wait until you see this. Julie Bizard. Julie, 48, was on the tennis court in January 2020, attempting to hit a 99 out of 100 shots. Sounds fantastic, right? Unfortunately, it did not turn out as she had imagined. Julie's aim was roughly as accurate as a blindfolded child playing pin the tail on the donkey. Her ball landed 20 feet off course, and that was all. When Julie opened her eyes again, she realized she was just waking up from a coma. It turns out she suffered a heart attack. Fortunately, a doctor who occurred to be present at the club witnessed the entire incident and intervened. Now, that must have been a close call. Accurate? Andy Murray. Murray was born and raised in Dunblane, and while the area carries great recollections, it also contains the tennis player's most traumatic experience. Because in 1996, Andy was just a child when an individual named Thomas Hamilton attacked his elementary school, shooting 16 children and a teacher before killing himself. The reality that Murray knew the individual in question adds to the agony. It turned out that the tennis star used to take part in a youth group led by Hamilton. Murray's mother would occasionally give him rides in her car, surely without understanding how insane the person was. It was particularly upsetting for Murray since he could have been one of the children who perished that day. Could you imagine? This is the actual kicker. That single event made the British tennis player extremely anxious. Fortunately, he discovered a coping method in tennis, that it ultimately helped him get through. As I understand it, Murray had a terrible experience. Paula Bosa. During the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, Bosa had to call it quits due to an attack in the midst of the contest. Unfortunately, the sun continued to shine brightly throughout Paula's match, making it too hot for her to bear. She collapsed directly on the court. When paramedics arrived, they confirmed Paula's condition as a heat stroke. It was so awful that they had to transport her off the court in a wheelchair. She had to decide to withdraw from the doubles event since Paula was in no shape to take part. Man! Now, here's the real kicker. Paula was not the only tennis player who was close to dying from heat stroke around that time. Daniil Medvedev. Medvedev noticed he was unable to breathe well throughout the first set he wanted. He felt his diaphragm was restricted, which made him nervous, but he went on to win the set, though only after consulting with his physio and filing a complaint. Then came the second set. As Medvedev's eyes chose to play out, he refused to give in to this weakness and battled valiantly, even though he faced beheading. We suppose the Russian star realized something was wrong eventually, since he chose to take a medical break. When asked if his condition was okay, Medvedev responded, "I could finish the match, but I could die," and questioned whether the umpire would accept accountability if Medvedev died. Nonetheless, following an examination, the Russian tennis star returned to the court and won, tweeting later that day that he had not succumbed from the heat and was still alive. Taylor Fritz. Fritz was competing against James Duckworth at the National Bank Open in Toronto in 2021 when he unexpectedly began holding his chest in pain. As one would expect, the doctors raced to his help and took his blood pressure. Of course, it had gone over the roof. The tennis player was eventually forced to withdraw from the match due to health concerns. Later that day, Fritz tweeted that he was well, but supporters did not appear to care. They began cursing him out. Now, if we're honest, it doesn't get any scarier than this. Venus Williams. The Williams sisters have been recognized as the most given siblings in tennis, separately and as a team. Venus demonstrated it in 2002. The tennis player not only rose to the top of the WTA rankings, but she was also the first black woman to do so since the 1970s. Yet, despite her success, Venus was battling a war that nearly ended her career and, worse, her life. Venus has been battling to maintain her game sharp for a long time. However, in 2011, things became quite awful. The tennis player has been diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome. Sjogren's syndrome is a disorder that causes your body to become as dry as possible. Hope you understand how much moisture the human body requires. Her health declined to the point where she was ranked 102nd by the end of the year, down from first place. When the tennis star went to the hospital for professional help, the doctors recommended she pay more attention to her meals. She was quickly back on the right path, and by the end of 2015, she was among the top 10 female players in the world. Today's video has come to an end. We looked at tennis players who nearly lost their life and died. Don't forget to comment on your favorite part of our video and why, like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Until then, we look forward to seeing you in our next video. If you have a video idea for our channel, please comment and our team will respond immediately. Game, set, match.